Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast. I am here twice a week to help you be that lawyer, confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. And, I take it very, very literally and personally to bring on guests that I know are going to impact the way that you practice law, impact the way that you live your best lawyer's life. And today is absolutely no different than usual, other than I've got a very unique individual in Jennifer Gardner. How you doing, Jennifer?
I'm great. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. We were just talking about how busy the day was, which is fine,
Yeah.
but have plenty of energy to spare. So we're going to use it. I'm going to put it out on you and hopefully get some great content for the lawyers that are listening to check out or watching if it's on YouTube. So let's start off with our quote of the show. Adam Grant has been around a long time. He's been doing great work and helping a lot of people get their sales together and again just really really bright guy. His quote is, success is really more about contribution than competition, which I have something to say about that, but I'd love to hear, first of all, welcome to the show, and I'd love to hear your take on why that quote is so meaningful to you.
Yeah, it's a super meaningful quote. Actually, there's very little that Adam Grant doesn't say that I don't just completely resonate with and think is just such a great idea, so insightful and so profound. Um, as far as this quote goes, I really think that a lot of lawyers are missing the boat because they are obsessed with winning. And I sometimes see conflict as an opportunity to find a solution and and contribute to a brainstorming problem solving process on all sides. So that doesn't mean I'm compromising advocacy, or but I don't believe in advocacy and competition where there's a winner and a loser for the sake of advocacy and competition as being the be all end all in my practice anyway. And
Yeah,
it's so when I saw that quote for that reason, it really resonated with me deeply.
yeah. And I feel similarly in that, I'm producing this podcast, I'm writing books, articles, I'm continually creating video and posting content that's helpful. And my hope
Yeah.
is that, and I'm not really competing. I mean, there's a lot of lawyer coaches. I don't know that we're competing. I think we're all contributing at different levels, and I think that contribution. My goal is to leave the legal industry better than I found it, which was in business development terms not great, as you know. Um, but I don't know. I think that the word contribution is so important in any industry or anything. I mean, you're contributing to, the people at your firm and the work that you do and your clients, and maybe just expand on that a little bit.
I take a very holistic approach to the work that I do and a very humanistic approach to the work that I do. And as a litigator and now as an educator of some of these ideas. And so contribution to me is bringing people up and supporting people, especially as it relates to the people that are on your team that are assisting you in reaching the goal for your clients. That's the ultimate team. If my people are not happy and I'm not contributing to their happiness, then I'm not doing my job
Yeah.
fully, fully. I'm really obsessed with my people being happy.
Yeah, and it's got to go both ways too, right? You want them to be happy, but they have to contribute, right, to the overall vision and goal of the organization and your happiness. Yes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. It's reciprocal for sure. It's reciprocal.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to pull their weight. They have to
Yeah.
contribute, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Well,
And
we're
it's
gonna
it's
get
a big
yeah.
challenge. It's a big challenge to find people who are in the game in that way. But
Yeah.
but it's possible to find.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got winners, you've got people that are kind of just kicking the can down the road, and you've got losers. And when you select a team, when you select clients, when you select partners for things you're doing, you have to make good choices.
Absolutely. And if I don't feel that I can partner with a client to get a good result, then that's not the right client for me. And I'm
Yeah.
sure you'd agree that not every client is right for every lawyer.
Yep. No, it's the word that we want to use outside of contribution is the word fit. I'm a big fan of that. And if I'm talking to a lawyer who wants to work with me, they're hungry, they're a go-getter. And for whatever reason, personality or from, it could be financial, it could be whatever, they're just not ready, then let's not do it. Like there's no, you don't have to jam a round peg in a square hole and just try to make a deal or get business. I mean, I get that there's desperation that can occur, but I'd rather approach it from a fit and from a power position of I don't need this. It's what's best for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of lawyers, they really struggle with saying no and having those boundaries and rejecting the misfits. And that's not to cast any shade on the quote unquote misfit, but when
Yeah.
it's not a fit, being able to have your personal boundaries so that you can say no
Yeah.
is very, very difficult because we are, as you know, the ultimate people pleasers. We're
Yeah.
pleasing the court, we're pleasing other people. We're really socialized from the time we're really young. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's necessarily such a good thing. But yes, and I love the word fit. I'm going to use that.
Let me take it one step further. So one thing that I teach lawyers when they're meeting with a new prospective client is to, build some rapport and trust and then lean into some form of a game plan. And the game plan that I'm teaching accomplishes a number of things, but the two that I'll share with you, one is to say to somebody, the purpose of us getting together today is really to see if there's a fit, to see if there's a reason for us to proceed forward. And then at
I
the
love
end
that.
of that game plan, right? So right off the bat, we're laying the groundwork that we're on the same level playing field, right? Even though you're the big shot CEO and I'm this lowly attorney or whatever the might seem like we're both humans and we're both putting our pants on, similarly. The second thing is I'll say at the end of that game plan is at the end of our meeting, if we feel like there's a good fit and we want to continue to talk, let's talk. Let's figure out what next steps might look like. On the other hand, if there isn't a fit from your perspective or mine, let's sort of be honest with each other and call it a day. And I want to let you know, no is an okay outcome. Like that's okay. We can stay friends. Is that acceptable to you? Do you agree with that? And always they say yes and appreciate that.
Oh, really?
Giving someone an out fit and letting them say no if it's not a fit, or giving you that permission to say no if it's not a fit, gives you some upfront opportunities to lay some groundwork that if it isn't a fit, you can bring it up later because it's been agreed to up front.
That's fantastic. I'm going to use that. Thank you for the free coaching.
Yeah, no
That's
problem.
really
So free coaching
outstanding.
for all. It's my new model, my new no.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think what we're talking about here is a great lead into where we're going to go in a few minutes. But let's take a step backwards to take a step forwards, or we got to go fast to go slow, or slow to go fast. I think we'll hit that soon too. Um, Jennifer Gardner, the founder CEO of Jennifer Gardner Associates, and you've got this Edge thing going on. So give everybody a little background on how you came to be and leading into the Edge, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So I have had my own practice for a ridiculously long period of time, 32 years this June it was,
Wow.
long
Yeah.
time. And before that, I worked in a firm for a few more years beyond that, in a few different firms actually. And I was successful against all odds, and I was successful at a very great price that I really stubbornly refused to pay because I've always been extremely entrepreneurial, curious, free-spirited, and really felt like I was the square peg in the round hole and trying to like fit myself into the round hole. And it helps to be in California where we have a very open society. I ended up representing a lot of people in the entertainment industry, a lot of artists and visual artists, even artists based in, for example, Berlin, Germany, where I was traveling and going back and forth for a while. That climate really was conducive to me exploring things that I was curious about and that interested me. And my clients really appreciated that I wasn't single-mindedly focused. And everything I did to just experience life outside of simply being a lawyer, and I say simply, I should put that in quotes because there's nothing simple about this job.
Yeah.
Nothing simple about this
Right.
job, right? It's intense. But everything that I did outside of that really informed my ability to be a more effective attorney. And even though I had no real mentorship and no real training, and I felt like everybody was sort of looking down at me like, oh, you're this young female and you think you can do this yourself. That was the sense that I got from my a lot of colleagues, and even in courtrooms. And I still get that in courtrooms, in fact, but still, that's another story. But I found that I was succeeding to my surprise and everybody else's. And I would win case after case, jury trial after jury trial. And I had to ask myself, what the hell am I doing right? Because I have absolutely zero training, zero mentorship. I don't understand or really understand all the rules of evidence or all civil procedure. I was told by my male superiors when I was a very young lawyer that I wasn't a legal genius. Why am I succeeding like this? Why are more clients coming to me? Why am I getting great verdicts? Why am I getting damage awards? Why am I getting great results in negotiations? And I realized after I did some exploring outside of just sitting there and pondering the question, I took some courses. I studied interspecies communication. I studied improvisation. I studied acting. I studied direct response copywriting. I studied somatic experiencing and social psychology, Jungian psychology. And I've come to realize from some amazing mentors, I pieced all these ideas together and realized that I was doing a lot of things instinctively very right, and also from a place where I just didn't know any better and I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what else to do than go into a courtroom and just plead my client's case like it was my own.
Hmm.
That in and of itself. And the irony there was I've represented some really interesting, colorful folks throughout my career, right? And I was terrified of losing because of what they would do to me next. Quite honestly, like I was afraid of the consequences of not delivering. And so it was very easy for me to find that kernel inside of myself that resonated with the reality of my clients and their legal problem and their legal challenge. And I was able to bring that into my work that I did as a lawyer at every phase along the way. And that I find is really a huge part of my success. And neuroscience research has proven that I'm absolutely 100% right. So I've gone deeper into actually studying data, studying research, studying with experts on topics such as leadership and neuroscience and creativity and communication. And that's what led me to create The Edge. I mean, the knowledge is just too good not to share. And lawyers, especially, don't get this training.
Yeah.
Um, if you
So,
go to a
but it
really
sounds,
good,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I mean, it sounds
sure,
like a lot of what made you successful was the influence and just the sort of the way that you were approaching and passionately working for your clients.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I really see you use the word influence. Influence is power. Influence is getting people to do what you want them to do. And
Okay.
that can be get making a decision for you, voting for you, following you, taking action you want them to take, whatever it is. And in my case, getting my clients to pay me, giving me work in the first place, right? All of these things require people skills and influence. And yeah, I realize that every word is an opportunity to have influence and build the relationship with another human necessary to help you get your result. Every
Okay.
word.
Got it. And how is how is influence different than power from a standpoint of approaching people, approaching clients, approaching subordinates?
Well, the people who are the most powerful are shown by the research to have the highest level of emotional intelligence.
Okay.
The
So
best leaders,
power
they
is
have
connected to emotional intelligence.
absolutely, they have as much EQ as they have IQ, perhaps even more.
Okay. And
So they have
does that impact influence then? Is that one of the key
a hundred
factors?
percent,
Okay,
a
got it.
100%. You really need to sharpen your emotional intelligence in order to have influence over other people.
Okay. Is that a born with or is that a learned thing
Some
or a
of us are born
combination?
with higher degrees, but it's nature nurture. You
Okay.
can learn the skills. They're highly learnable.
Okay. Got it. Got it. So what are some things that people can do to raise up their emotional intelligence and get better results, not only in the courtroom, but business development and client engagement and building a team and all of that?
Well, I think one of the most important ones is slowing down and getting in touch with themselves,
Okay.
listening to themselves, feeling whatever it is they're feeling. Because, well, now I have to back up and get into a little bit of nerdy neuroscience. I hope that's
Okay,
okay.
I like that stuff. I'm
Okay,
fascinated by
good.
it. Yeah.
Okay, yes, me too. I'm a big reader of all that stuff. I can't get enough. And the more I read, the more I want to read. So, what I've discovered through a lot of reading and actual education is that most decision making is made in the right side of the brain, which is where it's the emotional part. It's where we feel things, right? This is a very simplistic overview of how it works, right? So we have to, well, in the left side of the brain, this is where we exercise judgment and we consume information and we look very dispassionately at the information. There's a thing such as system one and system two thinking. So system one thinking is you've got to bring the data to establish your credibility and authority. And system two thinking is you have to appeal to the emotions. And the research is showing that it's the emotional part of the brain that's responsible for making the ultimate decision. You can present people with data, data, data all day long, but at the bottom line, you have to be able to appeal to their emotional piece. So, getting back to the question that you asked me, circling back, um, if you're not in touch with your own emotions, it's impossible to really understand how somebody else is feeling.
So if you're, yeah,
And
you're
in
shut, if
order,
you're shut down, it's hard to then recognize what's going on.
exactly, if you're shut down and you're tuning that part of yourself out, you can't empathize. And empathy is one of the biggest components of emotional intelligence.
Hmm.
You've got to be able to think of who are you speaking to. What is motivating them? What are they afraid of? What do they aspire to? And craft a message from inside their heads
Yeah.
that's, of course, in alignment with what you want. But that's how you get through from the left and into the right and influence the decision making process.
Yeah. And I want to just bring this back to, business development for a moment. And because that's obviously such a big part of my life, but also what I think a lot of the folks listening right now want to hear about is it's not about the pitch. It's not about the information and how great your firm is and your wins and all of that. What people really want is they want to be asked questions. They want to talk. They want someone to listen and empathize. And the goal of a prospective client meeting should be, can you get them to share with you what's really going on an emotional level, and can you empathize with that? If that's happening on a regular basis in business development, you're a winner. If you're going in and hard selling, convincing, pitching, and it's all about the intellectual part of the sale, and I use the word sale, okay, sorry, not sorry,
No, it's a sale.
then that's where you can still get the business, but it's not going to connect you the same way, and it's not going to drive up urgency, which ultimately makes the business happen today versus in a year or 6 months or sometime when it's not happening when it should.
1000%. I really agree with you. You know, it's interesting. Late last night, I got a phone call from somebody who said on the message, I spoke with you 4 years ago, and it's a real estate property line easement type of a problem. And they said, I'm having more problems. The problem still isn't resolved. Will you help me? 4 years ago.
Wow.
I spent a lot of time on the phone with that person, and I definitely felt like I could work with them. But it took them 4 years to finally say, okay, I've got to do something about this.
Yeah.
And they called me. So I think that if I wasn't naturally doing what you're talking about, well, now it's very intentional when I do it. But if I didn't have that skill, there's no way she would have remembered me. If I
Yeah.
was totally in my head about the data only, and I wasn't able to connect with her and have empathy for her situation, she would not have called me
Yeah.
after 4 years.
Well, there's a great saying that no one will remember what you no, I totally screwed that up, but it's basically it's along the lines of no one cares about what you know. It's really that they know that you care. It's that feeling, that connection of understanding and caring that happens in a meeting with somebody that will bring the business in, or that will bring the business in later, but make it real versus, again, I've been pitched hundreds of thousands of times in my time. I don't remember any of them, but I certainly
Yeah.
remember the people who made me feel really special and felt connected to me.
Yes, it's all about how you make other people feel, and that includes your adversaries, your lawyer adversaries, their clients. I love to throw zingers into mediations that really, like when we're at a pivotal moment and it doesn't look like we're going to have a deal. I will mention something like, well, my client really, the big goal here is to salvage this relationship because they have all this history, and obviously, right? Because
Yeah,
like most disputes don't happen, the kind that I handle don't happen between strangers. They're business deals and neighbor relations gone wrong. And I'll definitely use that card. You know what? It works every time,
yeah. So how
every
do
time.
how does developing, for example, skills around influence help lawyers become better at their work, reduce stress? Like how does it benefit them, and how does it benefit everyone around them?
Well, the big way that it benefits them is they're getting better results for their clients, and their clients are going to say good things about them. And I'm sure you would agree that word of mouth advertising is the
Yeah,
best advertising that you can possibly have, and it's free.
no doubt.
So they're going to get great results. Their reputation's going to go up. They're going to feel better about themselves, more confident, and they're going to continue to go and do great things in the world professionally, and serve their clients at a really high level.
Yeah. And
And yeah,
no, you go.
the question again.
No, no, I just wasn't sure if you were done with your answer, but I was just gonna,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna agree with you that it's it's there are lawyers that have developed skills in relationships and building trust, and influence is a part of that. And influence isn't a bad word. I feel like convincing is a bad word, but influencing is not. And I think that there's room for influencing in business development, and there should be less of convincing someone to your. I mean, I know that's a part of being a lawyer, right? But in business development,
Yep.
anytime I hear the word convince, someone will say, "Oh, I just had to convince them," and I go, "Ugh," like I cringe a little bit at it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, influence is also kind of a word that people are afraid to adopt. But you see, this is one of the things that I think what you just touched on is really interesting because okay, in the dictionary, power is defined as having influence, as having sway, right? Getting people to do what you want them to do. And you can do it internally or you can do it externally. Externally would be you march an army in there and you conquer the other side. Internally is you use the right words and you get them to agree to do something you want them to do while thinking that it's their own idea. That's the ideal form of internal influence or exertion of influence over other people. But power is a dirty word in our culture. We're very distrustful of people who have power, of saying we want to be powerful. And a lot of people are really distrustful of lawyers because they perceive them as being powerful. So we're sort of in this double bind, right? And I find that conflict and that tension really interesting.
Yeah, I do too, and I think that's where relationships and trust and likability and giving and helping changes that, because you can be powerful but known for also being a wonderful person and a giver and a mensch and all those things, and that's not as common as the power that we hear about in politics, or the power we hear at a law firm. It's the raging egomaniac managing partner, or all the different examples that we could throw out.
Those are the worst leaders, and just follow Adam Grant long enough and he touches on that regularly, right? He's got gems when it comes to people who quote unquote lead like that.
Yeah.
You can't be a tyrant and be a good leader. But yes, absolutely. 100% everything you just said.
Yeah. Do we have time for one more quick, maybe either example, or just, is there one more way that you can share that influence can benefit a relationship, whether that's a friendship, whether that's in court, clients.
Hmm. I think that we need to, especially lawyers, expand our understanding of what influence is and come to see it for what it is, which is from the time we're very young, we're learning how to use our words to get our way. And so everything we want is on the other side of the word yes. Everything. So I see every communication that I have with just about anybody that I come into contact with as an opportunity to influence. And maybe it's not that I'm intentionally seeing it so much as an opportunity, as I have an awareness of how my body language, my eye contact, my cadence, the rhythm with which I speak, which is what I mean by cadence, the energy I bring to the communication, the words I choose, the way I build rapport. I do this all day long, every day, and I do it in every aspect of practicing law. And I believe that these are the skills that make the difference for me. They really, really do. So when I think in terms of influence, I'm thinking in terms of that. And I think that I would like to see more lawyers see their interactions and their communications as an opportunity for influence. And one of the reasons why is that we have such an important role to play in society, especially these days, where I never thought I would live long enough to hear the American Bar Association form committees and have discussions over the importance of the rule of law. That was always a given until very recently.
Mm.
And so lawyers, we are interpreting law and we are going into courtrooms to make a point that the rule of law or our interpretation of it is going to be the direction that the law takes and applied in a fair way, that we have due process. We take an oath, we take a constitutional oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, right? So we lose sight of this as we go about our daily lives, as we're getting clients, as we're billing clients, as we're trying to meet our overhead and pay our people and have a life. And I think that that needs to come back into focus. And in order to do that really, really well, we need to recognize the extreme position of power that we have and own that power and get over whatever feelings of conflict that we have about the fact that we have that power and the opportunity to exercise it regularly for the greater good in courtrooms, enforcing the rule of law. So I think that answered your question. Every communication is an opportunity to move further and further towards that end of using influence in a really positive way to get great results for our clients and to enforce the rule of law
Yeah.
or
And,
apply
and
the rule
and
of
and bring
law.
in more business. I mean, it's sort of all
Absolutely.
encompassing. So awesome stuff, Jennifer. Thank you so much. Let's move to our game changing podcast. And I've mentioned to you earlier that I'm moving away from political podcasts for a while just to give myself a little bit of a breather. And the one that you brought up is Lex Friedman podcast, and I'm very interested in that. Why is that such a great podcast?
Okay. I adore Lex Friedman, right? I have a huge crush on Lex Friedman. He's, well, he's very about showing his human side, right? He openly says he loves you to his audience. He loves people. He brings people on, and it's not all political, believe me. It's a lot of it is science-based experts and thought
Yeah, I
leaders.
love that.
But he brings, yes, but he brings people on from all sides of the political spectrum, and he has open communications with them about why they think the things they think and what they think so that
Hmm.
he can reach a deeper understanding. And he's all about communication in that way and using his curiosity to have a deeper understanding of who they are. And he says very publicly that we're all human and we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And those values are my values. And for that reason, and you don't hear that in the collective. You don't hear that in the legacy news media. You hear a lot of editorializing, and we get a lot of propaganda, and we get a lot of disinformation. To have somebody whose purpose it is to go to the source of policy and different ideas and ask them quite candidly what their thoughts are, why they think that way, and to explore them as human beings instead of dehumanizing them,
Hmm.
I think is outstanding. And we need more conversations like that. So that is my reason why I love
All
that
right.
podcast.
Well, I will check that out, and I'm assuming that people that are interested in new podcasts will as well. Let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, of course, LawHer, one of the best podcasts out there for lawyer women that want to hear from other successful women lawyers to get ahead. So write that down if you don't have that on your list. And actually, our last show was with Sonia, who runs that podcast. So check that out. And of course, Rankings.io, helping to bring in leads for lots and lots of personal injury attorneys around the world to grow their businesses. Jennifer, if people want to get in touch with you and they want to reach out, they want to hear what you're up to, what are the best digits?
LinkedIn at Jennifer B. Gardner, my website, jenniferbgardner.com. And jgardnerassociates.com is my law practice. I have a lot of digits. Those are
Okay,
those are
okay,
like
but
the best
yeah,
digits.
that's good. Good
Yeah,
to have, and we'll
yeah.
put those in the show notes as well for everybody that's moving around and traveling on your phones. Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom. This is an interesting topic that I'm so happy we were able to kind of like ferret out all the different aspects of influence and what it really means. And I just thank you so much. Really wonderful.
Thank you for having me. It was a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Awesome, awesome. And thank you everybody for spending some time with Jennifer and I today on the Be That Lawyer with Fretzin podcast. We're here twice a week to help you be that lawyer, confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. Take care, everybody. Be safe, be well. We'll talk again very soon.